Oh, there we go. It's not Sandra.
Okay. She
That is
faked me out.
fine.
Angel faked us out. What's up, Nathan? All right. So thank you all for joining us today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Sean McGovern. We're joined with Pamela Hernandez.
Hello,
Today is
hello.
Today is not about tactics. It's about the difference between thinking like a producer and thinking like a CEO. So just to
Exactly.
tell you a little bit about myself, then I'll let Pamela introduce herself. I got started in the real estate industry back in 2006. My first job was working for a small-time developer. Did that for about a year and a half, and then went across the street basically to another huge development, 4,600 acres, and worked for the development team there for several years before going to work for a custom home builder. I worked for a custom home builder, selling construction for several years until I got to Keller Williams in 2015, and that was my first foray into general brokerage. So with Keller Williams, that was in August of 2015, and then in March of 2017, I had been on the team for my first year and a half at KW. I decided to branch off and form the McGovern Group. So you see a lot of my branding on all my swag that I wear, my shirts, my vests, my jackets. Don't be a secret agent. It's one of the things I teach when I teach Ignite. I teach all the agents to wear something that indicates you're a realtor. So, and we'll talk about a lot of the mistakes I've made over the years as being the CEO of the McGovern Group and doing reverse expansion, moving to Charlotte from Wilmington, and all the fun things in between. So, Pamela, I want you
Yep.
to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you and how you got started.
Sure. And like you just mentioned, so what we're going to be sharing today is actually what happens when you protect your CEO habits and what happens when you don't. And you're gonna get both sides of the spectrum. We have someone super experienced, like Sean, that has seen it all. And then I'm gonna share a little bit about myself. I'm on my second year as an agent. First full year that I did real estate was 2025. I was blessed to be able to help 17 families buy and sell, but I also helped a total of 19 families just last year relocate into Charlotte as a relocation expert. So, I'm usually like the first point of contact for these families. It's a something a little bit different, but I really, really enjoy it because that's actually how I made my way into Charlotte. I've only been living here 4 years. So the community that I've built, the database that I've built has been all through actively doing these CEO habits. So basically, if I can do it, everyone can, right? There's no excuse. So, definitely what we're going to share today is a little bit of the differences that you see when you're acting like a producer and thinking or acting like a CEO and what works and why it works. And then we can start off, Sean, if you'd like, tell us what you think is the difference between um, being a producer and being a CEO.
Well, you and I talked about it a little bit earlier, Pamela. It's when you're a producer, you're just in the day-to-day activities, right? You are dealing with stuff as it pops up. I love the term pop-up agent because you pop up and work whenever an opportunity presents itself. And so you're not protecting your time. You're out there just chasing every single person down that you can possibly close a deal with, and you're looking to get that transaction closed. When you're a CEO, you know, it's a different mindset. You're protecting your time. You've got time blocks, you've got specific activities for those time blocks, and you don't take your foot off the gas for lead generation, which is the number one foundational piece that everybody has to implement in their every single day, no matter what. You have to continuously move that business forward. So having that vision to see the long term and not be dealing with the day in and day out minutia, I think that's one of the biggest differences between being in production and just being in that CEO mindset. In my mind, just a 20,000 foot overview.
I agree. I agree. And I would add to that that the CEO has the vision to look at the big picture, plan ahead, and that starts by oops, sorry about that. That starts by setting the foundation and the systems that are needed to make that happen, right? So would you like to take us back to a moment in your very extensive career and what those days looked like for you as a producer versus a CEO? How did your days feel?
Well, it felt chaotic, honestly. I mean, when I first got started in real estate, it was before we had that mortgage meltdown in '07, '08, and so I didn't really know any better. Those first few years I was on site and working for developers and builders, and until I got into general brokerage, the market was really, in 2015, it was really starting to pick back up from, it was on fire in '05, '06, '07, and of course, I decided to get my real estate license in '06, and then the bottom falls out in '07. And so I didn't really know any better at the time. So 2015, when I got started in general brokerage, it was really just the market was a normal market. And the days were chaotic. I mean, it was chaos every day, chaoticness. It was just trying to figure out, what the next step is, what do I need to be doing, who do I need to call, and it was just a constant battle of trying to figure out what to do. Until you really start getting enough business to where you have the income flowing and you have enough revenue to start investing back in your business, to start getting some administrative help, some transaction coordination help until you start getting some leverage, you're doing everything. And it is chaos.
Hmm. Yeah. So I would agree. And for myself, that first year where I did not have all the systems in place and I didn't have that foundation set because I felt like I was a squirrel. It was like, I got to do this. Now I got to do that. Now I'm gonna go. And I was doing all the things and I was wasting my time in things that were not income producing activities where when I step into that CEO role, I can definitely say, okay, I'm doing this activity because it fits into very specifically my GPS, right? This activity is going to lead. It's exactly the strategy that I am being meant to follow. So all my time spent is purposeful. I'm not running around like a headless chicken. I think all new agents feel like that at the beginning. They just run around like a headless chicken because they want to find that business, right? And then as a CEO, if you are consistently doing the things that you're supposed to, you can see where your business is coming from. You're not going to guess. Like that guessing stops. At least that's how I feel it. And I think that also leads into an internal change, especially in mindset, where you are coming from a place of clarity and calmness. And we can transmit that to our clients. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think you said a couple of great things there, Pamela. Is the first thing you said was plan, right? And when you plan your work, when you plan your year, when you plan your month, when you plan your week out, it does bring a sense of calmness and it reduces the chaos. I mean, if you can see behind me, I've got a huge, big wall calendar for the entire year.
Mhm.
And I mean, my goal every year is I get a brand new calendar every December, and we go through. First thing we do is we plan out our vacations. What months, what's the kids' school breaks, what events do we have coming up that we need to plan around? What vacations are we planning on taking? What conferences are we going to go to? And then you break it down by quarter, start looking at, your business and you sprinkle the business in after you do the personal. But yeah, once you get that foundation in place and you start planning, you said GPS. So can you elaborate a little bit more on what your GPS is and how you use that to plan your business?
Well, and I know that Legacy Collaborative is not just Keller Williams agent. So just for everyone to know, a GPS is one main goal supported by three priorities that will help you accomplish that goal. And then you can divide those into strategies, as many as you need, to make sure that those priorities get accomplished and therefore your main goal gets accomplished. So for myself, it allowed me to stop um wasting time in activities that were not aligned with my values, that were not aligned with my goals, and focus on those that were. And at least for me, the way that I was able to do that was I was very clear because I was thinking as a CEO, I was very clear on my numbers and I can identify which ones are producing revenue and I could therefore lead with revenue and invest in the things that truly make sense. And for a newer agent, I would say that the number one resource that you have is your time. Like, where are you spending your time? What activities are you doing, um, spending your time on that are actually going to be productive?
Absolutely.
So that's my GPS.
Yeah, so
Um,
GPS, it's otherwise known as the 135. So as Pamela said, you've got one big goal. So typically you do GPS. We usually do these, put these together in the fall. So you want to plan for the following year. The
CEO
activity.
habit. Plan
Yep,
in the fall for your next year.
that's right. I mean, you have, it's the old saying in real estate that the activities you do today don't show up in your bank account for 90 to 120 days. So it's the same thing with planning your following year. So you want to plan towards the end of the third quarter for the following first quarter. Start putting
Correct.
your plan in place. What are you on track to hit for this year? What do you want a goal for next year? So that's one goal for the entire year, three priorities, three ways to get there, and then five strategies to support those three priorities. And then you
Mhm.
break it down to monthly goals. So you can do a monthly GPS. One goal for the month, three priorities to hit that goal, and five strategies, five actions to take to hit those three priorities.
Mhm. Yeah. So I do uh a review in the middle of the year to see where I am on accomplishing those goals. And then I can adjust. Do I have to hit the pedal or can I slow down, right? Can I have I accomplished these priorities? I don't want to say slow down again because I think that was one of the mistakes that I made as a producer. And if you like, we can go into talking about like what worked for you or what habits definitely work for you when you're on that CEO mindset versus producer mindset. For me, that was exactly it. I slowed down. I slowed down with my lead generation because I was so busy. And I think that happens to so many of us. Our days get filled with the showings and the negotiations and the meetings and this and that. And then the first thing to go is lead generation. So that was a mistake I learned from. No matter how busy I actually am and what transactions I actually have on the table, lead generation is untouchable. I have to lead generate for the amount of time that I have set every day in my calendar. And when I'm not doing that, the number one way that that shows up when I'm not respecting my calendar is that I'm exhausted, number one, and I feel just like I want to give up. I can't. It's not sustainable. That rhythm is not sustainable.
No.
Versus when you are a CEO and you're time blocking and you're doing all the activities that you're supposed to be doing, like I said before, there's like some calmness that comes with that. What about for you, Sean? What are some habits that need to happen for you when you are on that in that CEO mode?
I don't know about the rest of y'all on this call. I've got a lot of kids, and one of the best habits that I've found in the past as a CEO mindset is to wake up early. I like to wake up at least an hour before the kids get up because, I use the word chaos a lot. It's like if you wake up when you're waking your kids up to get at the door to go to school, then you're waking up to chaos. And it's if you wake up an hour before that chaos happens, you have an hour of calm. You have an hour of time to yourself. Sandra likes to do a lot of the miracle morning activities where you're journaling, reading the Bible, meditating, having some quiet time. and it really gives you a chance to set the tone for the day before the day sets the tone for you. I think that's one of the best habits that I've had that just really, I like to get up and I like to take a 30-minute walk around the neighborhood. And, it doesn't matter if it's daylight out, if it's cold, if it's rainy, just get outside and take that walk. And that just really, it sets you up for success every single day. Helps you really focus on what your priorities are, and you don't let the chaos just take you out and let that dictate your day. You like to dictate your day yourself.
I like that. I'm not a morning person though, so
It's a
I
trained
guess it's
habit.
different for everyone.
It's a trained habit, and I've gotten out of that habit. I mean, the kids just got off of a February week-long break, and I mean, Sandra was still getting up in the mornings and going and doing her thing, her having her morning huddles, and I got in the bad habit last week of sleeping in, because the kids were sleeping in. I didn't have to have anybody at school by 8 o'clock. So this morning was a great refresher. I got up at 5:30. I got up before everybody else. Sandra gets back tonight, so I was getting the house in order for the cleaners to come today, getting the dogs to groomer so everything smells good when she gets home. But
I love that.
I spent about an hour this morning of just getting organized and getting my day together so that I wasn't waking up to the chaos and having to get kids out the door right away.
So would you say organization and those that early morning just like preparing for the day is like one of the habits that keeps you on track?
I think that's one of the biggest habits for me personally because that gets my mind right.
Okay.
I like to, at night as we wind down, we'll digest the day. And then I like to look at my calendar and kind of look at what I have on the calendar for the next day and just go ahead and kind of mentally think about that. And then when I'm waking up first thing in the morning, like I don't even like to look at my phone, check my messages or anything until about an hour after I've been up. So I'll look at my phone when I turn my alarm off, and then I won't look at it again until I'm starting to get the kids out the door for school. I like to have that quiet time. I'll listen to an audiobook, I'll listen to a business podcast, I'll get a little bit of exercise in. But for me, that does a immense amount of help with my mental, capacity.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to have that calmness to begin the day.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. So for me, I think taking care of my calendar, making sure that I don't rely on my own memory for all of the things that we need to keep track of. But another thing that has really, really helped has been to add blank space in my calendar. Because that allows me to when I need to shift things, not feel like, oh my God, it's the end of the world because I wasn't able to do the things that I needed to do. But it also allows me to have like those moments of calmness and breaks in between a very hectic schedule. Um, because life happens. Like no matter how neat your calendar looks, if your kid is sick that day, you are going to change your calendar, right? Or if your buyer cancels, or if, your closing gets pushed, you need to be able to have those spaces in your calendar to allow for life. So that's one of the things that since I started implementing that, I think it's been really, really helpful. Another CEO habit that I think a lot of agents don't implement is understanding their numbers, knowing their numbers, and leading with revenue. For me, leading with revenue means that because I now know where my business is coming from, I can see on my little, I don't have a huge calendar like yours. I have a smaller one. I
Yeah.
can see which months will are projected to have a larger revenue, and then I can plan around those months the activities that I want to do. But if I can see that that month is slow, the last thing I want to do is invest or overspend on things that are not necessary to my business, which is a big change from my first year where I wanted to try all the things. I wanted to try all the lead generation activities, and everything adds up, right? Leading from revenue also allows you to do more of that green light, red light, you know. I have months where I go into a red light mode and I cut my expenses. I cut my expenses and I'm so good at tracking them because I do have my money day that I know where my money is going. I don't think a lot of agents, especially when they start, are are clear on how important it is for them to track their money because this is a business. What does leading with revenue look like for you, Sean?
Well, I love you're talking about awareness with money and leading with revenue. I love that you have a money day. I think that's a huge thing. Is awareness is key. You got to know where you stand. You got to know where the money is flowing in and out. And when you're thinking like a true CEO and running your business like a business, and you're not just winging it at a high level, which I have been known to do, you are completely aware of where you're at any time. You know, you're aware where your money's at, what's coming in, what's going out, what's coming up. And that's critical. I think you have to look at that at least once a week. You know, for Sandra and I, our goal was to look at it on Sundays. We don't always do, we haven't done in the past a great job of it. And when we do have conversations around it, then things go a lot smoother and there's no speed bumps along the way. There's no hidden speed bumps. You know, you talk about money every week. That way, the speed bumps that are coming up, you're aware of it so that you know that that week you need to slow down and maybe you don't need to go to that dinner or you don't need to go to that networking event because you got this coming up and you don't have a closing until the following week. You know, you got to worry about cash
Yeah.
flow.
Mm-hmm.
Something you mentioned earlier was when you have that calm, that confidence, it translates to your clients too. When you have things planned in the background, you've got your year planned out, you've got your money on lockdown, you've had those conversations, you know where everything's coming in, where everything's going out, and then you get in front of a client then it's not chaos to them. You're a very calm, cool, disciplined CEO who is going to lay out a game plan, set expectations for them, and show them the houses they need to see and put them under contract quickly. You know, the goal when you're working with buyers is not to go out and show 20 houses. The goal is to show five, right? And get them under contract on one. So that's one of the things I think that translates when you have all this stuff done in the background for your business, I think that translates big time into dealing with, your clients on a day-to-day basis.
I agree. I agree. And then it helps you be smart with your money. So I do have a money day, and that's Mondays. And Monday is a day that I try not to book anything outside of my home office so that I can focus on the things that I really, really need to do. But I also have an accounting day once a month where the for me the money day is looking ahead and the accounting day is looking back, right? To see where actually there's that difference where I planned my money to go and where it ended up going. And then make corrections when I need to. Um, and then that allows me to keep a track, for example, um, if I have, which I do, I have these higher goals for which I need to have a specific reserve for, right? Is my business on track to accomplishing that and making that? Or the red light, green light, or do I need to stop my unnecessary spending because I need to align it with that goal? Or maybe I can go out to that dinner or invite that buyer or client or VIP to that special event or um for me, even am I gonna have the budget to create that event that I want to create for my VIP clients, for example? So as I keep track of those markers, those days, those that income, that revenue, it just allows me to plan better, right? And then I'm not getting ahead of myself and making expensive decisions. What about
So
for
what,
you?
so Pamela, walk us through what your money day looks like. How do you start that? What do you plan? I mean, what tools do you use to help you with that?
Okay, so Recently, I've been using a tool that I've gotten from Sandra's Elite Coaching Program, which is really, really great at helping you track um, your income and expenses. But before that, I used to do it through an Excel sheet. So I do have my own accounting software. And on my money day, what I do is I look ahead just for the week, what my expenses look like. What if, for example, I have um my assistant's payroll is due, or if I'm going to need showing assistance for that week, or if I have an event that is due in that week or in that month, if I have bills coming up, credit card bills coming up, what kind of activities are also going to be happening that week. So for example, for last week, I could tell you, um, I had an intimate wine tasting scheduled for some of my neighbors here in my home. And my my money day made me realize I had to stick to a specific budget. So I switched out the dinner plans that I had for that event. Something so simple, right? Initially, I thought I was going to be able to spend $500, and I realized with that I couldn't. So I adjusted it, right? Something so simple, right? So I keep tabs on it week to week because that just helps me plan. I don't think everyone needs a weekly money day, but definitely a CEO needs a money day. You should know your numbers. For example, I can go into my Excel sheet and see what I paid for um an event and how many leads I got from that event, and in turn which ones converted so I can see my return of investment from that event, you know. Um, You only get that if you set out the time to have your money days and look at your numbers. Look at your numbers as a CEO. We're running a business and we need to run profitable businesses.
I love that because most everybody that's on this call, I believe, is a realtor or support staff for realtors. And, realtors typically, we don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks, right? Most realtors, on average, have a closing once every 2 months. The average realtor sells 5 to 6 homes a year. So if you're getting a paycheck every 2 months, how are you figuring out how to budget that for the next 2 months? And that's where, you talked earlier, Pamela, about, getting stuck in the weeds with dealing with transactions and inspections and losing out on your lead gen. And that's where you get in the real estate roller coaster, right? Is
Yeah.
you get the business, and all of a sudden you're dealing with the business, your lead gen's up here, and now you're dealing with the business and your lead gen goes down there. It's a roller coaster, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And your income becomes like a roller coaster. You might have a great month where you have three closings, and the next month you have zero because you haven't thought like a CEO and protected those time blocks, protected your lead gen activities, which is the most important foundational activity you can do, and it becomes a roller coaster.
What does your Legion look like, Sean?
Man, I wish I could tell you that I, set a timer, which I do have a timer right here, which is great. It's just a little digital timer that you push the button and it starts timing. And my intent for that was to, use that timer and, you can only, your body, your mind can only stay focused for like 30 to 45 minutes, right? And you said something earlier, Pamela, I want to touch back on is having that white space in your calendar. I think it's imperative to have some white space in between your time blocks on your calendar because your mind can only focus for so long. We've got so many distractions. You've got your phone that has notifications popping up constantly. You've got people popping in the door at the office asking for, help on a contract. You've got email, you got instant messaging, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like all
All
the
of
stuff, all the
it.
things.
Yeah.
So, the key is when you have that dedicated time, put your phone on Do Not Disturb. It's easy to do. Do it for 45 minutes And then after 45 minutes, take it off Do Not Disturb, spend 15 minutes catching up on what you missed in those 45 minutes, take a walk around the block, take a walk outside, get some fresh air, and go back and do another 45 minutes. I find that some of my best lead gen time actually becomes when I'm driving. Literally, anytime
You
I'm in
do
the
that.
car, yeah, anytime I'm in the car, I've got some windshield time. If I'm driving to a showing, I'll spend that time calling clients. And I'm like, all right, I got 45 minutes to get to Gastonia for this showing. Let me see if I can make two phone calls and connect with some people that are on my list to connect with. Um,
Okay.
and I do a great job with I've got a dry erase board where I've got four quadrants. I've got one quadrant for buyers, one quadrant for listings. Those are my two pipelines. So I got buyer pipeline, I got listing pipeline. Then I got one quadrant for active listings, and then the bottom quadrant is for under contract. And so my goal is to get the buyers from the buyer quadrant down to the under contract. The goal is to get the listing pipeline from there to the active listing down to the under contract. So that's something
Mhm.
that, yeah, Ashley says the car is my office also, lead gen machine. So when I moved up here from Wilmington, I mean, that's when I got some of my best lead gen activities was driving back and forth to Wilmington, dealing with the business down there. I had a 3 hour drive down and a 3 hour drive back, and I would make phone calls for 6 hours a day because I would have to get down there and back in the same day because Sandra didn't want me to stay overnight because we got too many kids. But
Okay, thanks for sharing that.
yeah, I
Well, you know
mean,
what? It just I think I'm gonna take that because usually when I'm in the car, I use it to catch up on other things, but it's totally true. Like we spend it is so much time spent in a car. It's crazy. Like I don't think anyone warned me about the amount of miles that I was going to be driving. But you're right. That's an excellent opportunity. Um, how do you make sure that that doesn't get lost? Like what are your fail safes to protect your lead generation time?
well, in lead generation, it's not just making phone calls. Lead generation is also networking. It's going to events. It's doing open houses. So throughout the week, I mean, it's a constant, effort. Every single person I talk to every single day is a potential client. I mean, I've
Mm-hmm.
picked up recent clients from selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I've picked up clients from going out on a date night with Sandra and chatting with the service staff. I've picked up clients at the store. I mean, every single person you talk to every single day is a potential lead because they need a place to live. So if
Do
you
you
look at
keep track of your contacts every day?
I used to. My goal was always to get to at least 20 every day. I haven't done that in a while. I probably should get back to it, especially since I've been grinding here in Charlotte for the past year. Um, but it's for me, it's a constant thing. If you ever see me outside of the house, I'm always wearing a Keller Williams something or a McGovern Group something. It's always constant lead generation.
Mm-hmm. Um, in in my
I love this.
case,
Hold on. I actually just said, I love telling people I'm in the car. Can you send me a quick text so I can follow up when I get back to my computer? That's great.
that's a good one. Yeah. I'm looking at it now. I do keep track of the amount of people that I talk to every day. I keep track of the contacts, the leads from those contacts, the appointments set, and the signed agreements. And that's what helps me keep on track to accomplish my GPS. So, and I have it, I visually see it, and I make sure that when I'm not in my office, that day, that I come back at the end of the day and fill it in so that it keeps me on track.
Yeah.
Um,
Jeff, you're not working with enough buyers then, brother. You said I'm lost on how much time y'all spend in the car. I put 7,700 miles in my car in 2025.
yeah, no.
If you got three active buyers looking for properties right now, then you're putting a lot more than 7,700 miles on your car in a year.
I ain't got three active buyers.
Well, there you go. How do you get
So
three
how do
active
we get
buyers?
those active buyers? We go back to the lead generating. You got to protect that time. It has to happen. Sometimes I know because I can look ahead in my week, I know I'm not going to be able to do it um because something comes up or the day has another activity that is more important. So what I do is that I front load. And for those of you that don't have the habit of doing the DT D2 schedule, that's what has helped me um make sure that I am contacting my database actively and consistently. Um, and I also have a couple of systems in place to make sure that if I don't have the time to reach out to them, they're still hearing from me. That is, in our case with Keller Williams, we have our command database that allows us to set up smart plans. So they're hearing from me some way or the other. If I'm not able to text or call them, they are still within a month getting something from me. And I think ever since I implemented that, it also has given me that peace of mind. And now I can just like pick up the phone and be like, "Oh, I noticed that you received my last newsletter and that we haven't connected since then." And that's where my leads come from, that's where my appointments come from, and that's where my signed agreements come from for buyers and sellers. So I try as much as possible to protect that time. And I can notice when it's working, when I'm doing the work and how it shows up in my bank account and when I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think, obviously I've been doing this for a long time and been with Keller Williams now. This is my 11th year with Keller Williams. I know my first couple of years, I have this on my desk still. This is a tracking sheet. So it's
Look
got
at
little
that.
Yeah, it's got little tick marks here where you tick off each contact. You got name, address, a couple different categories here. And that's what I used for years and years and years when I was tracking my contacts, is I would just go through, make calls out of the database and just track my contacts. And then every week when I was on the team, I had to turn in that tracking sheet. So that was a level of accountability that, I definitely needed when I got my career off the ground. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Over time, as you get like in 2021, I hate to say this on a recorded call, but I don't think I made a single lead generation phone call in 2021. I had been in the business for long enough that my phone did not stop ringing because everybody wanted to do business. And I think I sold 54 houses in 2021.
I can't wait for that to happen to me.
Now, it was
I
madness.
cannot wait.
And Jeff, you want to talk about putting some miles on your car? I think that year I put almost 60,000 miles on my car. I
Yeah.
was driving back and forth to Wilmington 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. Like I said, I couldn't stay the night because I needed to get back to make sure the kids were fed. Um, and it was chaos, just pure chaos. We were just servicing the business. It was not a skill-based market at all. It was a service-based market. It was like, how fast can you service the lead? How fast can you write a contract? How fast can you close? How fast can you get in there to see the property? How fast can you make an offer? It was not sustainable. So I was actually relieved when the market softened in 2022 and the rates doubled, and it became more of a normal market over the past couple of years. Now, it has been a bit of a quick start to 2026. I don't know about y'all, anybody that's working with buyers. I mean, I had 3 buyers I put under contract in January, and 2 of them were multiple offers.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah.
Ashley says 2026 is wild. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think y'all need to buckle up because I think this year is going to be a crazy year. I think once we get through some of this stuff going on over in the Middle East and you get some of that stuff settled, I think consumer confidence is going to go through the roof. I think as rates continue to come down, as they're predicting that things, and I'm interested. I'm not in Atlanta today, so I didn't get the chance to hear Gary Keller's vision speech this morning. I'm looking forward to catching it on YouTube when they publish it next week. I highly recommend, no matter what firm you're with, go back and always watch Gary Keller's vision speech because that's kind of a state of the union for the real estate industry. He has been a savant as far as it goes as predicting things that have come and gone and market trends and data. That's my elevator spiel for the year. When I go back and rewatch Gary's vision speech and analyze the slides and the data that they present, because they have a whole, Keller Williams Realty International has a whole economic team that does nothing but
Market
forecast and
data.
analyzes data.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's highly valuable to really give you insight into what the market has done, what it's doing right now, and what it's predicted to do this year. So that therefore, when you go to talk to your clients, you are that much more educated than most people ever become in the real estate market.
I'm I'm taking everything that you're saying and I get excited. I get excited instead of scared because I already did the work and I continue to do the work to make sure that my systems are in place, my foundation is in place, so that when those shifts happen, I can confidently take on more business, right? Because I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm not gonna go crazy. It did take me a little bit to find the right transaction coordinator. I think it's very expensive to hire people that are not aligned with yourself and your values. So that took me, that's amazing. That took me a little bit, but I think that's also one of the things that you need to do as a CEO is, um, take the time to hire correctly because if not, it is going to be expensive, right? It is going to be expensive. But hearing you, I feel super excited. I feel super excited for what's
Yeah.
coming. And if you're thinking like a CEO and you're doing the work, you should. You should also be excited. We have a couple of minutes, a little bit more than 15. Is there anything you want to add to our conversation before we just invite everyone to get off mute and then ask questions and go over different things?
I think some of the things I'd like to just reiterate is just planning your work, working your plan. I think when you spend some time and map out where you want to go and how you're going to get there, it gives you the confidence and the calmness to be able to implement that plan. And I think the numbers, having that awareness around your numbers is critical. Having a monthly money day, I can't, reiterate that more. It's so endearing.
Crucial.
It's critical. It's so endearing to be able to plan that and to have that plan together and then to make decisions based on that plan. So that you're leading with revenue and really following the red light, green light. Stop expenses that you don't need to have and green light expenses that you need that are going to move your business forward. I think those are just critical aspects of having a CEO mindset and having that blueprint to move forward.
Yeah, I agree. So, and having that blueprint is not about doing more necessarily, it's about doing things and operating differently. Um, a plan in place. Nathan asked, what are some expenses you found helpful to greenlight? Is that the end
I
of the
think
question? You want to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things that I have, you mentioned transaction coordination. I think that's one of the first things you have to leverage out when you're getting started is transaction coordination because that takes up the most time. And you have to have somebody, I highly encourage everybody to go through and do their first few transactions themselves. You want to know how to conduct a transaction, you want to know all the steps, you want to know the pitfalls. That way, when you're hiring a transaction coordinator, when they're doing a good job. Are you charging that cost to the client? So I didn't for a long time, and now on our contracts with our buyers and our sellers, we have a admin fee of $485 that we charge on every contract. We charge it to every
Interesting.
buyer and
Yeah.
every seller. The market center charges a $75 transaction fee, and then you pay your transaction coordinator however much you're paying them to conduct the transaction. So that does offset that cost.
I love that. I'm gonna implement that. Nathan, I can tell you an example of when I've had to red light, which is the opposite of green light. For example, I ended it last year, with having outsourced a person to run my social media. And I loved how it looked. I love what they were doing, but the revenue wasn't there. The return of investment wasn't there. So a CEO decision was made. This expense needs to either be adjusted or stopped. So I decided to red light it. I decided to stop it until I could find the right service that would be a complement, like a balance of both. It could provide a better return of investment and the cost was worth it basically. So um, that's one way that you need to analyze your numbers. am I receiving the return of investment that I should be receiving? And it's a hard conversation to have, like especially if you grow fond of certain people. But I mean, that's a better conversation than hiring someone and then being like, oh, you know what, I really can't um honor my commitment. That's an even harder conversation to have. Or telling, your spouse, I don't have money to pay our mortgage, right? It's you pick your hard. So keeping track of those numbers is what allows you to make those decisions.
Well, and that's the hard part to plan for. If you're not planning out and forecasting and you don't have a pipeline board where you know you've got, A, B, and C buyers and listings coming up, it's tough to plan out a quarter at a time, especially when you start taking on salaries and paying other people. As far as some expenses I've greenlighted, I mean, I've done some client events in the past. One of the events that I've done that has the highest ROI is we give away pies for Thanksgiving because that gives you a month and a half of lead generation activities leading up to the pie event. We pick up apple and pumpkin pies from Costco. They're anywhere from, I think the pumpkins are now $7 and some change. I think the apples are over 10 now. They've gone up in price over the years. But you can pre-order them and they will package them without any labels on them. So typically when you buy them at the store, they've got a label with the ingredients and the UPC code and all that stuff. But when you prepay or pre-buy them from Costco, they deliver them, you pick them up and they don't have any labels on them. So you can put your own marketing materials on top of the pie on the container.
Cute.
And so we might spend, I'll partner with a lender, and so we'll co-brand the labels on the pies, and we might spend, $1,000 total on pies. And typically, I get 5 to 6 pieces of business at it every pie event, every time. And I've got a simple script, and Sandra, she cringes every time she hears me say it. But literally, from like mid-October until leading up the week before the pie event, I always order extra pies. That's critical. Always order extra. But my script is I call up people and I'm like, hey, we're doing the pie giveaway again this year. Can I put you down for an apple or a pumpkin pie? Great. And hey, if you can whip us up a referral, somebody that has a real estate need that we can help in the next 12 months, then I'll give you a free tub of Cool Whip with your pie. Are you putting your info or asking for info in return for the pie? So these are people that good question, Nathan. So typically the pie event is for people past clients, people in your sphere network. Now I'm actually going to do something a little bit different this year. We've got 700 homes in my neighborhood, and I did this in 2022. Or I'm sorry, 2021. I've been having the pie event down in Wilmington where I spent the bulk of my career before I moved up here. So I don't have as large of a client database in Charlotte as I do down in Wilmington. So in Wilmington, we'll order anywhere from, 120 to 200 pies every year and give them away to our clients. And I always order extra. So in 2021, I was heading back from Wilmington and I had like 40 extra pies. And I didn't have that many clients in Charlotte yet. So I was like, what am I going to do with all these extra pies? So I thought to post it in my Facebook neighborhood group that, hey, I've got some extra pies from a client event. I made it a marketing post. I put a picture of myself with a big McGovern group sign on it. And I tell you what, I pulled up the post the other day. I think I had 279 comments on that post in my neighborhood Facebook page the week of Thanksgiving. I had to go to Costco and buy like another 100 pies the next day because
Oh,
I didn't have enough to give away. And the mistake I made was I just told people to DM me their address and I'd drop it by. So I literally spent like 12 hours driving in circles in my neighborhood, dropping pies off for an entire day before Thanksgiving. So this year I plan on, because normally the pies are given away to past clients, people that you close a transaction with, VIP clients, and people that are in your sphere network. So people that might give you business. This year, what I'm going to do in my neighborhood is I'm just going to post a form to say, hey, we're giving away a pie. Please fill out this form. I'm going to ask for their name, phone number, email address, and physical address, and for them to opt into our newsletter. And then I'm going to rent out the clubhouse the day before Thanksgiving and have them come pick up their pie. and have like an event down there and have some food trucks and events, some activities for kids and things like that. And just because everybody's home for Thanksgiving and everybody wants a free pie and they don't want to leave their neighborhood to go get it. And if they give us a real estate referral, I have a whole cooler full of Cool Whip tubs in there to give them a free tub of Cool Whip with their pie. So I'm going to use that whole script on my neighborhood, and I plan on picking up some listings and some buyers, and who knows how much business I'll be picking up. So, and I will be asking for a lot of info in return in order for them to pick up the pie. But most of the people that we're giving pies away to in the past, historically, we already have their info.
Yeah, it's your database. It's your
Yep.
database. Yeah. Um, I like that idea.
It was wildly popular.
Everyone in the chat, everyone in the call is gonna be giving away pies.
No, the pie events have been historically great. I mean, if you think about it, my lender invests 500, I invest 500. We split it 50-50. And if you get one piece of business, I mean, you're $1,000 in, and you
Yeah,
get one
you're
piece of business
there it
with,
is.
say, an average commission of $10,000. I mean, that's a 10-to-1 ROI on just one piece of business. Now in Charlotte, I found that my price point is a little bit higher, and my commission is a little bit higher. So, if I get 4 or 5 pieces of business, then that's, a multi-exponential return on investment.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Does anybody else have any more questions that you can add them to the chat, or you can unmute yourself um and just let us know.
Yeah, I'm an
And
open book. If y'all have any questions about anything that I've done in the past or made mistakes on in the past, I'll be happy to tell you all the mistakes I've made that hopefully you won't make the same ones because I've made a lot of
I'll
mistakes.
ask you a question
Yeah.
regarding that. So, what is that one thing or one mistake that you're never allowing yourself to make again? Like,
I'm
what's
not I'm not allowed to make another hire. I'm too nice of a person. I'm gonna let Sandra make my next hire.
that? Okay.
No, she's hardcore. No, I tend to, there's a process with Keller Williams called career visioning, which is the process of hiring somebody. In order to fully like understand the entire career visioning process, you have to take a class called the Leverage Series. It's it's career visioning, success through others, and 30, 60, 90 is the three different classes you take over a 2.5 day period. And if you're hiring, you need to take that class at least once a year. And you need to be hiring if you're going to be a CEO of your business. You need to be in the process of thinking about hiring or hiring somebody. And not skipping any steps in that CV process, that career visiting process is critical. It's a long drawn out process and it takes a long time to get to the finish line to hire somebody. And, my biggest downfall, I feel like, is I like people. And I connect with people, develop rapport with people, and then I get to like people, and then I don't want to let them down, and I end up hiring them, and then they might not always be the right fit for the job. So
That's
I
such
need
a
to,
big one. And it's
yeah.
so expensive. The reason why the process is so long and drawn out and it has so many um facets to it is because hiring the wrong person can make or break your business, right? There's a reason you have to put so much thought behind it. Um, but
Well,
good to know. Good to
when
know.
you pull the trigger on hiring somebody, you're committing to 90 days of salary essentially. Is you want to have them for 30, 60, 90 days. That's like their trial period. When did you make the jump to hiring someone on? You don't want to earmuffs, Sandra, for when you listen to the recording. When I left the team I was on, so I started on a team in 2015 at Keller Williams. I was on the OP, the operating principals team. And then in March of 2017, I decided to go off my own and form the McGovern group. And I literally hired an assistant the day I left. And and I didn't follow any of the career visioning process at all. She was a new agent that I had been mentoring, and I was friends before she got into the real estate industry. And she told me after I left the team and formed my own team that she didn't really like the customer facing part of the business. She liked the back end stuff. And I said, great. I don't like the back end stuff. I like the customer facing stuff. So why don't you be my assistant? And by the way, I can't pay you anything, but every closing, I'll give you $500. do all my transaction coordination, all my marketing, and I was doing like 1 to 2 closings a month back then, and hired somebody right away. And it worked out. She was with me for 3 years until COVID hit, and then we were all sitting at home for 3 months and having to cut expenses. I cut her back to just being transaction coordinator after that. She stayed on for a while longer, but hire slow, fire fast.
So another point to that, Nathan, is and this is from the leverage series. You are supposed to have 6 to 9 months of business expenses reserved in addition to your personal expenses reserved before you go into the thought of hiring. So you want to have their salary, whatever it is that they're gonna have, in your reserves already before hiring. And if you people don't work for free. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. People don't work for free. Um, if you want to go down that path, I'm sure Sandra, you could also book a consult with Sandra. She'll be able to give you some more guidance on that, which is some of the things that we work on together. So for example, over the summer, I am going to have a college student intern for me. And we've already gone through, so we had her do her all her testing and matching the job profile. I know now what she is good at and what her strengths are and what tasks she's going to be able to accomplish for me and what not to expect from her because it's just not the right profile. Um, so there's a lot of thought that goes into that.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a whole process.
Pamela, I could not agree with you more. Well, we talked about earlier, leading with revenue, red light, green light. Once you have the revenue and you have reserves built up, the next thing you want to do is you want to save up 3 months of salary and set it in a separate account because you're only hiring this person for the first 3 months. And that's really, after you go through the career visioning process with them and you follow all the steps, check all the references, go through deep on the references, the having the defense when you have all the people that look at your entire CV packet and put the candidate on the defense, and that's really the critical step at the very end is people try to poke holes in your hire. But you have 3 months of salary set aside in addition to your personal reserves and business reserves. That's when you've earned the right to make the jump to hire somebody on. Not when you first go off on your own and just feel like you need an assistant. That was not the right move. It worked
Yeah.
out. I don't know how it worked out, but somehow it worked out. And I would not do that again.
But even before we make a hire, there's things that tasks that we can leverage out, that are based on your production and it goes towards your co cost of sales. So transaction coordinating would be one of those. It's not a direct hire. It's based, and then you get to choose what transactions they take over for you, or not. So I would suggest if you're needing to add leverage, that's where you should start.
Yeah.
That's definitely where you should start.
Yeah. Definitely make that leap first is TC. And then my next leap would be like marketing is start getting that automated, start, talking to the market center and Nathan specifically. I know other people are at different places, but the market center has a great marketing department that you can hire on and pay separately. And as you get transactions, just thinking about what money you want to put back towards your business out of that transaction, and make sure you have reserves set up is the critical part.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else have a question? Because we are already at 1 o'clock and we always value your time and how important time blocking is. So thank you
Yeah.
for being with us today, Sean. I have always learned so much from you. You've been such an amazing mentor. If anyone ever needs Sean, he is there for us.
Hey, I'll put my cell phone number in the chat. So if anybody has any questions that they want to follow up with afterwards, feel free to call me or text me. There's my personal cell phone number. It is a 910 area code. It's a Wilmington zip